Hello, my name is Brandan Davies. I'm a criminal defense lawyer based out of Overland Park, Kansas. In this video, I'm going to answer a question about the criminal justice system that comes up quite commonly. The question is, what is the difference between a plea and a sentencing in a criminal case? So the only reason that you would ever watch this video or have gotten this far into this is if you are facing a criminal charge and you are trying to get it worked out, you're trying to not put the case on, not have a trial, but trying to get the case resolved through a plea. The plea and sentencing, a lot of people think that it is a combined thing, that once you admit to the crime, that there is a prescribed punishment right then and there. And that's sometimes how it works. It depends on the level of crime, it depends on what exactly you're charged with and what jurisdiction in which you're in, if you can do both the plea and sentencing at the same time. The plea is where a judge makes a finding that you have violated the law. So how that works before a finding can be made is there has to be a plea or an admission by the party. In other words, the person is going to be asked, did you commit this crime? And the person is going to say, yes, I plead guilty to that crime. Now this may be after an extensive negotiation with the prosecutor to amend the charges or to work out a recommendation on the sentencing. For this video, we're just talking about what it actually means, the plea versus the sentencing. So the plea is a finding of guilt. You admit that you violated the law. A judge will ask you a lot of specific questions, things like, have you had time to talk with your lawyer about this? Do you understand the consequences that you face when you are charged with this crime? And you'll go through your constitutional rights so that you know that you have the right to have a trial on any given charge and have the state or the city prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you did actually violate the law. The judge will ask you a lot of different questions to make sure that your plea is knowing and voluntary. So after the plea is completed, then the second stage comes into play. That is the sentencing part of it. The plea is when they determine your guilt. The sentencing is when they prescribe a punishment for that guilt, for that violation of the law. Now sentencing runs hand in hand with the plea because a lot of times at the plea you will receive some sort of consideration from the prosecutor as far as a recommendation on the sentencing. But they have to look at them as two completely separate processes. One is the finding of guilt, two is the punishment for that finding. Now, sentencing can be as simple as we've agreed on this judge for the prosecutor, this is what they ask the sentence be, or it can be a contested issue. The prosecutor may have a recommendation that's completely different from the defense recommendation. Now, generally on a misdemeanor, most misdemeanors, aside from some DUI and drug convictions, the plea and the sentencing will be done on the same day. You'll be found guilty, and then you'll ask or make your arguments for your recommendations, and the judge will prescribe your punishment that day. Now, on a felony case, there are certain steps that need to be taken in between the time that a plea can be taken and the time that a sentencing can be issued. For example, like a pre-sentence investigation that determines the person's criminal history, or an LSIR. Things of that nature that need to be done before a person can be legally sentenced. So the most important thing to gather from this information is that a plea is involving the finding of guilt. A sentencing is prescribing a punishment for that finding. If you have any questions about the criminal justice system, where you fit at in this plea and sentencing process, if that's the route you're going, feel free to contact my office for a free consultation.